Putting aside the fate of Justice Ginsburg's seat, what does an 8-person court mean for any election-related cases if they arise?
Well, this is yet another phony issue that's arisen because the Supreme Court has had 8 justices at many times in its history, including very recently. After Justice Scalia died, the court had 8 members for about a year. So, I mean, there is no problem with the court functioning with 8 people. What happens is if the court splits 4-4, the lower court's decision is affirmed. That happened several times during the 8-member court. So it's not like the court is paralyzed with only 8 members. It just functions in a somewhat different way.
So even cases pertaining to the 2020 election, the same thing. If it's a tie, the lower court decides?
Well, that's right. If it's a tie, the lower court decision stands. But that has happened many times in our history. It's kind of too bad. I mean, it's better to have the Supreme Court decide these cases. But the idea that the court would somehow be paralyzed with 8 people as opposed to 9 is just silly. And the same argument could have been made in 2016. All the Republicans who are now saying, oh, well, it's very important that there be 9 justices by the time there's the election, they didn't want 9 justices by the time of the 2016 election. I mean, it's a phony make-weight argument.
It is hypocrisy.
To get to where they want, which is to get another conservative on the court.
Of course. I feel you, Jeffrey. State courts have been ruling on lots of cases about voting access, mail-in ballot issues. What if those similar cases make their way to the Supreme Court? Same thing. Your same answer as before?
Absolutely, and the Pennsylvania Supreme Court just had an important decision at the end of last week that was actually a very significant victory for the Democrats because it said that votes postmarked before election day had to be counted, even if they were received afterwards. It said that Pennsylvania could use ballot boxes, which the president has been attacking. That decision could be appealed to the Supreme Court, and if it's appealed, 8 justices will decide it. It's not.
But I think
it's
what
not a crisis, and it's been done before.
I think what the question is that if there are more conservatives, if it's a more conservative court, and election issues arise. Is that going to affect how they vote, maybe for what President Trump wants, voting ballot issues or issues that arise about, anything that is it more likely that a Republican president will get what that Republican president wants if there are 8 people on the court at the time and it leans conservative?
Well, I think what's really going on here, Don, is that the conservatives, Ted Cruz, the people who are saying, we need to confirm someone before the election, they just want another vote that will help Donald Trump get reelected. And they're probably right. I mean, if you look at Bush v. Gore, which is the ultimate election case from 2000, you had a 5-4 decision where the 5 conservatives voted for Bush and the 4 liberals voted for Gore. I think, it calls for a certain degree of cynicism when the justices deal with these political cases that they wind up voting in court the way they voted in the ballot box. And I think the issue here is the Republicans just want another conservative Republican vote in time for the election in case any cases come up.
I want to ask you about the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. 1 week after the election, the Supreme Court will hear oral arguments in the Republican effort to overturn Obamacare. Without Justice Ginsburg, is the law basically doomed?
Not necessarily, because remember, when the first and second big challenges to Obamacare came before the court, John Roberts surprised a lot of people, including me, by voting to uphold Obamacare. Now, the specific legal issue that is before the court here is somewhat different than the ones that John Roberts voted in. But what makes this particularly perilous for supporters of Obamacare is that even if Roberts voted with the liberals in this case, there are now only 3 liberals. So it would be Breyer, Sotomayor, Kagan, and Roberts, and it would be a 4-4 tie, and that would affirm the lower court decision which struck down Obamacare. So I would say the departure of Justice Ginsburg from the court is a very serious threat to the survival of Obamacare, as it is to so many issues that liberals and progressives care about.
Jeffrey Toobin. Jeffrey, I want you to stand by. We'll be needing you throughout the hours here. Thank you so much.